Overnight, an explosive new fire erupting in Sonoma while hundreds of thousands are without power due to those intentional shutdowns. Will Reeve is in California right now with the news for us. Good morning to you, Will.
Good morning, Michael. Yeah, now 10,000 acres and counting, 0% contained here in wine country. There is fire all around us. The fire has jumped the road. The fire department is right behind me here, but they were further up the hill. We started up there with them, and the fire completely engulfed us around, and we had to come down the hill. And actually, before we went live, we thought we might have to get out of here. It all depends on these winds, which have really been terrorizing much of the state of California.
Overnight, mandatory evacuations as a wildfire rages across wine country. The Kincaid fire, fueled by powerful winds, burning at least 7,000 acres in under 3 hours with 0% contained.
I think it's going to be favorable.
Okay, I'm glad it looks favorable for your position. Looks like the gates of hell for me.
Listen to the wind howling, the fire glowing in the mountains. The flames spreading rapidly, engulfing this roadway, suffocating smoke everywhere. One woman even taking matters into her own hands, trying to protect her property with a hose. Firefighters at nature's mercy, watching the fire move and grow. Hours before the fire, as high winds hit the region, utility company PG&E began rolling blackouts affecting hundreds of thousands of customers. The National Weather Service warning residents on Wednesday these winds could rival those from the Saddle Ridge fire earlier this month. In Southern California, the Palisades fire burned 45 acres this week. Infrared video showing it continuing to burn at night, hotspots glowing in the darkness. This video shot from the road appears to show the fire just as it was beginning. Officials now investigating the cause.
As this fire continues, people keep coming down the hill. Residents have been given mandatory evacuation orders, so they are driving down the hill. The fire is really everywhere. It has jumped the road. There's fire coming up and down, again, depending on which way the wind blows. Right now, at this moment, it's died down a little bit, the wind has, but that could change in seconds. It will pick up, the directions change. We will keep this monitored for you because this is, again, 0% contained. The latest reports, 10,000 acres and counting burned here in Sonoma County, Michael.
All right, Will, we hope they heed those warnings and evacuate. Thank you so much. And we're going to come back into our studio with Rob, who has the latest on the weather conditions in the fire zone. Good morning, Rob.
Hey, good morning, Mike. Unfortunately, this is the beginning of a multi-day event. You know the setup, high pressure in the mountains, cold high, forces that air through the deserts of Nevada and Arizona, but gets into California, and that's when things get really dangerous. So let's go 3D, let's AR this thing and show you what the topography does to this. Red flag warnings up and down the state. We force them up and over the Sierra Nevadas. That compresses the air, that heats it up, that dries it out. There's the Kincaid fire in northern parts of Sonoma County. It's now flowing down the slope towards the Russian River into even more populated areas. The winds will die down there later on today, but Southern California, we're looking at extreme fire danger conditions today. Single-digit humidities. Winds could gust easily over 50 miles an hour. There you see the San Gabriels, the San Bernardino Mountains. These are areas that are very susceptible to fire, and if we have a spark down there today, it could be very, very dangerous, not just today, but tomorrow, and then a reinforcing shot, George, on Saturday.
He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666.
And this is what the movies are all about. When they put out Iron Man and Spider-Man and what was the Incredible Hulk and just all these so-called superheroes, that is a indoctrination. That's a conditioning of the mind to prepare the masses for the benefits, quote unquote, of taking the mark of the beast. Because taking the mark of the beast, the 666, is going to change your entire DNA. That's why not only will no one be able to buy or sell, unless they have the mark of the beast on their right hand or on their forehead or the image of his name, they will be damned for all eternity. Because their creation, the way God created them, has been literally changed. It has been altered. They become a new creation outside of Jesus Christ, which is Antichrist, damning themselves for all eternity. And being in the lake of fire. This is a lake of fire type of judgment. You know, this is a major sign of the times that you have, again, biohacking on a level. And now that you can just inject yourself with DNA sequence.
Would you get a microchip implanted in your hand for work? More than 100 employees at a Swedish company named Epicenter are doing that, saying it streamlines office life.
It's a big move at an office that could change the way a lot of Americans work. A tech company in Wisconsin is offering to implant tiny microchips into its employees.
Many of the employees, including the CEO, will voluntarily have the microchips implanted into their bodies. What did the employees say when you brought this idea to them?
Half of them actually within 5 seconds says yes.
Many are excited to give the new technology a try.
I think it's kind of cool. Just pop it up there and it'll work.
Just pop it up there. It's that simple. So to give you a sense, here's a grain of rice. The chips will be inserted like this grain of rice right here between your thumb and your forefinger. And most of the employees have opted in. It is voluntary.
One size fits all, I guess.
Microchips implanted in human bodies could transform the way we tackle many everyday tasks. Some workers in Sweden are already developing and volunteering to have chips injected into their hands. The technology can make some tasks easier and reduce the amount of personal items employees need to carry.
A microchip implanted in his hand makes his life easier. It replaces all the keys and cards that used to clutter his pockets.
I use this many times a day. For example, to unlock my smartphone.
It felt pretty scary, but at the same time it felt very modern.
I love gadgets, and now I kind of feel like I'm a gadget myself.
The next generation of chips will save lives by monitoring health and fitness.
I'm fascinated by this. I've always thought it was the future, that it would carry your medical records, that it could track your fitness, that
you could buy your groceries with it.
Right, like an Apple Pay or something.
All in.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical. I'm scared of becoming a cyborg, but if you guys go first, I'll join you.
I know it's very futuristic. I get it. But I think, what's wrong with just taking out your card? But good for them.
I think it's the wave of the future, that we'll all have implanted chips that have our medical records.
So you would do it?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. You're carrying around a phone anyway. That
you would do it too, Charlie, wouldn't you? See?
Okay.
I need to catch up. I need to catch up. No.
Now some employees are actually getting microchipped.
I can't wait till this starts here at CCO. About 150 workers at the Epicenter Startup Hub in Stockholm, Sweden, decided, let's do it. Let's get this microchip. It's about the size of a grain of rice. So it's pretty small, doesn't hurt. You barely feel it. So, you know, you just go up, you just stand by the thing, and it works.
Wave. Yeah.
It was brilliant.
At first, I was completely against it. But, you know, I was thinking more about it, and just the convenience of not having to carry anything, to just walk up to a door, it opens for you.
Just today, I recently got a new phone, and I realized how much I appreciate that thumbprint, and how much I took it for granted because I could reset my settings and change the 4-digit code. Oh my gosh, it took up so much time to do that.
4 digits.
Yes.
And now I'm like, oh, what would I do without the thumbprint?
So now you're ready to go the next step.
I'm kind of ready for it, you know? Let's see what other possibilities are out.
It's great. You never have to worry about losing ID cards. You know,
for security purposes.
Security, it's fantastic.
I actually am intrigued by the technology, and you think about all the things, especially like passwords, all the passwords you need to have.
Or even just to open your car if you forget your keys.
Would you be willing to implant something like this into your hand so you could maybe easily open doors at work or even log on to your computer?
Not if it's that big.
No, smaller.
Our River Falls, Wisconsin company claims it's going to be the first in the country to implant microchips in most of its employees.
A business in Wisconsin implanting microchips in its employees, in the skin of their hands. So what are they tracking, and would you say yes if your boss asked you to do the same?
Industry experts forecast we could see these chips used by hospitals to store our medical records, even at airports to store that passport information. And that is just the beginning, David.
right in our hands?
Right in our hands.
Microchip meant to make the workplace experience faster and more efficient. The implant, which has been FDA approved.
Do you think this is the future?
It is the future. This is the future. There is just as much interest from parents with young kids that want to be able to implant their children with a GPS chip. When I scan my hand at my door, the lights will turn on that I want to come on, and AC/DC will start up with Hell's Bells. We have a lot of non-employees that are actually going to be implanted with the chip on Tuesday next week, along with we've had calls from several hospitals and about over 20 businesses that are very interested in getting this chip.
Would you be comfortable if the government or Amazon, same thing I guess, did this to you?
Well, they do it to the military right now, the government does, and it's a huge tactical advantage out on the fields, also with children, and we had a country call us regarding kidnappings. They're having a problem, so I guess it's the next thing.
Experts say it won't be long until microchips are used as passports, driver's licenses, even to pay for things like public transportation.
I wouldn't be the first to try it, but I think if a lot of people did it, I would do it.
Implanted microchips may seem disturbing to a lot of people now, but maybe not for long.
This won't be a big deal 5, 10, 15 years down the road.
Melissa Timmons was skeptical, but is now chipped.
Yeah, right now it's only to buy a candy bar and get in our building, but there's a lot more that's going to be coming with it. I was hesitant. What am I implanting into my body? And my kids were kind of the ones that got me excited.
Did you feel it?
Yeah, a little bit. It wasn't bad.
In the future, we'll be able to use it as a passport. You can use it in public transportation as a form of payment.
The latest innovation that's drawing worldwide attention.
Pretty quick and easy. It really was. I didn't really feel anything, to be honest.
In a lot of ways, it was easier than a shot.
How much did that hurt?
Didn't really hurt a lot.
I think it's a step towards the future.
The chips could eventually save lives.
Somebody who's allergic to something or has a condition, they could scan your hand and all the information is there.
Three Square Market is working with a Swedish company to embed the microchips in its employees. Everybody wants to know, how big is it, right? In order to pay, they won't use a credit card. All they'll have to do is flick their wrist.
The owner, Todd Westby, his wife and 2 children will also be getting microchipped.
The latest office innovation is a microchip implanted in the skin and designed to replace the traditional keypad for opening doors, using the copier, even buying food in the cafeteria.
Implanting microchips in humans. It's a move that's meant to make people's lives more convenient at work.
A company in Wisconsin is the first in the country to microchip its employees.
Would you let your boss put a microchip in your body?
Human microchipping. I'd love to have this conversation in maybe 10 years from now, because like anything, right, at first it's a foreign idea and then you talk about it enough and it becomes something that we're also used to.
Or something major will happen and then we'll all...
It really is almost like the Matrix.
I know, you just walk up to her like, boop,
I know.
You're in. I don't know. Would you ever get it?
You know what? I don't think so at this point. A lot of our viewers had some really good points about you never know what's going to happen right now.
For the past 50 years, America's secret pre-tribulation rapture believers have assured Christians that they will be raptured away before the mark of the beast and the Antichrist appear. Well, tell that to India's troubled Christian population who are being compelled by the Hindu-controlled Indian government to have their fingers, faces, and eyes scanned so that they can be enrolled in Aadhaar. Aadhaar is the massive biometric identification registration project of the Indian government. It is administered by the Unique Identification Authority of India. Aadhaar, which means foundation, is a 12-digit unique identity number for every Indian citizen. A unique number is assigned to each citizen when their biometric data is scanned and entered into the national database. ADHAR is the largest and most sophisticated biometric identification system in the world. All 1.2 billion Indians will be scanned and assigned a number, and the project is almost completed. It is mandatory that bank accounts in India be linked to ADHAR. In addition to banking services, all government services are linked to ADHAR too. When the system is finished, it will be impossible to buy and sell in India without participation in ADHAR. Prime Minister Modi, a radical Hindu, is pushing hard for India to become the first cashless society on the planet. In 2016, Mr. Modi's Hindu government banned 85% of India's currency in circulation in a brazen attempt to compel people to accept a cashless society. Imagine here in America, the United States government suddenly banning all paper money and coins except quarters and $1 bills. With almost every citizen scanned into the database, ADHAR is only the beginning in India. New Delhi also introduced in 2016 a digitized system called India Stack. It is a set of APIs that allow government agencies, corporations, and developers to utilize the ADHAR ID infrastructure to propel India toward becoming a paperless and cashless society. India Stack enables citizens to store and share personal data, such as addresses, telephone numbers, bank statements, financial records, tax records, and employment records. The personal records can be accessed and shared with others via ADHAR. Therefore, Indian citizens can use India Stack to open bank accounts and brokerage accounts, make investments, share personal records with anybody in India by simply scanning their finger on their phone. Although there has been little opposition to ADHAR among India's non-Christian population, many Bible-believing disciples of Jesus Christ in India are outright alarmed by the government's insistence that they be scanned and given a number so that they may buy and sell.
The White House announced Sunday evening the U.S. will stand aside as Turkey's President Erdogan invades northeast Syria. That decision may place Christians and Kurds there in great danger, change of the balance of power in the region, and threaten only the embryonic democracy in the Middle East, but also Israel itself. Chris Mitchell brings us the story now from Jerusalem.
This video shows U.S. armored vehicles leaving the area along Turkey's border. The pullout comes just hours after the White House announced U.S. troops would clear the way for an expected invasion by Turkish forces. Turkey's President Erdogan said the assault into northeast Syria was imminent.
We have made our preparations. We have completed our operation plans. We have given the necessary orders. The decision has been made and the process has begun for the springs of peace. And now opening up their path is as near as maybe today, maybe tomorrow.
The decision by Trump allows Turkish forces to enter into the area controlled by the Self-Administration of Northeast Syria, or SANS. This government was formed after the Syrian civil war and has become a democratic entity with broad representation of all its peoples, along with religious freedom. Erdogan claims the Kurdish group in northeast Syria called the YPG is a threat to Turkey, a threat he has said for months he wants to eliminate. To appease Turkish claims, the U.S. and Turkey recently began joint patrols in the area, but the Turks said that wasn't enough. So now they're on the verge of a Turkish invasion with unforeseen consequences to the region. The White House decision is seen by some as a betrayal of the Syrian Democratic Forces, who have been the #1 ally of the U.S. in the fight against ISIS since 2015. In a statement, the SDF said, this Turkish military operation in northern and eastern Syria will have a significant negative impact on our war on ISIS and will destroy everything that has been achieved from the state of stability over the past years. We in the SDF will not hesitate for a moment to defend ourselves against this Turkish aggression. This decision threatens the new government and up to 100,000 Christians living mostly along the Turkish border. Erdogan also told the UN recently he wants to flood the area with up to 2 million Syrian refugees. But before Turkey's President Erdogan invades northeast Syria, CBN News has learned it's quite possible the fledgling democratic government there will surrender to Syrian President Assad, who is allied with the Russians and Iranians. They see Assad as a lesser evil than Erdogan, but this surrender would upset the fragile balance of power in a critical area of the Middle East. As CBN News has reported, if Iran enters this area, it would assist their goal of a land bridge from Tehran to the Mediterranean. That would also put Iran in a stronger position on Israel's northern border and increase the Iranian threat to Israel. CBN News has learned the government in northeast Syria might be forced under these circumstances to release the thousands of ISIS prisoners it's now holding. They would probably escape to Iraq, which would further destabilize an Iraqi government already going through its own internal crisis.
As we continue to watch Bible prophecy unfold, it seems as though the war of Gog and Magog is looming on the horizon. The United States pulling out of Syria and allowing Turkey to invade now brings all three of the main players onto the world stage and ever closer to Israel's border. Israel has always been a problem to the Middle East and the world, and now with Russia, Iran, and Turkey at Israel's border, how easy would it be for these nations to think that this is the moment to destroy Israel? Ezekiel 38, 1-9. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set your face toward Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn you about, and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you out, and all your army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed in full armor, a great host, all of them with buckler and shield, wielding swords. Persia, Cush, and Put are with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his hordes, Beth-Togarmah from the uttermost parts of the north with all his hordes. Many peoples are with you. Be ready and keep ready, you and all your hosts that are assembled about you, and be a guard for them. After many days you will be mustered. In the latter years you will go against the land that is restored from war, the land whose people were gathered from many peoples upon the mountains of Israel, which had been a continual waste. Its people were brought out from the peoples and now dwell securely, all of them. You will advance, coming on like a storm. You will be like a cloud covering the land, you and all your hordes, and many peoples with you. These are the modern-day nations listed in Ezekiel 38 and 39 who will be mustered in the latter years to attack Israel: Russia, Iran, Turkey, Libya, Sudan, and Ethiopia. As we can see by recent events, stage setting for the war of Gog and Magog is taking place as Russia, Iran, and Turkey are forming a dangerous alliance at the doorstep of Israel's border. God tells us exactly what will happen to Iran, Russia, Turkey, and the many peoples with you when they attack Israel in Ezekiel 38, 18-23, and 39-7 and 8. And it will come to pass at the same time, when God comes against the land of Israel, says the Lord God, that my fury will show in my face. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath I have spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel, so that the fish of the sea, the birds of the heavens, the beasts of the field, all creeping things that creep on the earth, and all men who are on the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. The mountains shall be thrown down, the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. I will call for a sword against Gog throughout all my mountains, says the Lord God. Every man's sword will be against his brother, and I will bring him into judgment with pestilence and bloodshed. I will rain down on him, on his troops, and on the many peoples who are with him, flooding rain, great hailstones, fire, and brimstone. Thus I will magnify myself and sanctify myself, and I will be known in the eyes of many nations. Then they shall know that I am the Lord. And I will turn thee back, and leave but the sixth part of thee, and will cause thee to come up from the north parts, and will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. So I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let them profane my holy name any more. Then the nations shall know that I am the Lord, the Holy One in Israel. Surely it is coming, and it shall be done, says the Lord God. This is the day of which I have spoken.
I've been informed by top-ranking military officials that Israel has been unable to launch even a single plane in defense. As I stand here, Fighter planes are exploding in midair. They're crashing and falling to the ground without any explanation. And while no one can seem to give me any reason for why this is happening, I can tell you this. This all-out, unprecedented attempt to destroy Israel appears to be failing.